TMI, every opinion counts.
Thanks again for rejoining us on the program this morning on ITV. Beautiful Thursday morning. We're back to where we started from, the 2018 World Press Freedom Day. Keeping power in check, media, justice, and of course the rule of law. I'm joined now by a veteran broadcaster, journalist, media administrator, media consultant, civil society commentator. I'd like to thank very especially Tony Abolo.
Thank you.
Sir, Tony Abolo. Let me add that, sir. I mean, I know you're not, but let me add that as a mark of respect and honor.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you for coming. I also have with us in the studio a legal practitioner, the Executive Director, Freedom of Information Council, Barrister President Aigboha. Many thanks for joining us, President.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay. This is the 25th celebration of the World Press Freedom Day. The theme is quite striking. But before we talk about the theme, let's look at the origin of the World Press Freedom Day. And how has the celebration of this day, bring to the fore issues that relates to press freedom globally?
Well, usually some of these worldwide and global celebrations of major issues and public concerns emanate from the fact that the world wants to turn attention to where we tend to forget where we began. The global body has also appreciated the fact that media is crucial towards societal development. And where societies have appreciated two significant things, freedom and the rule of law, where those things operate, societies tend to be better off. There is growth, there is freedom, there's liberality of ideas, and people are more peaceful. And consequently, it was decided that the more everybody around the world keys into this, the better it is, and to understand the centrality of media in public discourse and centrality of media in societal development. So here we are in Nigeria. We've come to join the rest of the world to see whether or not we even appreciate what is the media. Do we, even the practitioners, understand our core roles and what we should be doing? Okay. So it becomes an opportunity for us to re-query ourselves in terms of role, in terms of impact, and then again to see whether those who are in authority even know whether it matters to them. Because usually I laugh when you hear people in government, maybe a media group pays a courtesy call, they will tell you, you're partners in program, partners in, and I don't know whom I'm partnering with. Because if I'm supposed to be a partner with anybody, then we have a parity and a cooperative approach towards doing things. But in Nigeria, it is never. So maybe that's why when you have a theme like this year, talking about keeping power in check. That's quite a full thing to grapple with in Nigeria.
All right, let me come to the lawyer. How germane is the theme for this year, interfacing it with the realities on ground in Nigeria?
Yes, for the first time, UNESCO has just taken citizen journalism serious. Because a lot of persons think that when you talk of journalists, you mean those who are in the NUJ, those in the print or press. But this World Press Freedom Day, focusing on keeping power in check, their direction is at citizen journalists, particularly those who are even operating online. If you look at the thing critically, you don't agree with me that you and I are journalists. Okay. A lawyer is a journalist. Okay. Those who work in stations are journalists. Those who use Facebook are journalists. Those who use WhatsApp are journalists. So long as you send that information, you have a role to keep power in check. Okay. But you have a safety nest that you need. Okay. You need rule of law. You need justice, and this falls on the courts. That's why the role of the judiciary in all of this press freedom is also quite germane. Okay. Judiciary has a role to protect citizens. The citizen also has a role to send out information that are just and verified. And the area where the press also need, the mainstream press also need to enlighten the public that the liability for intermediaries are getting overburdened. Because when you put so much liability on a Facebook manager, a WhatsApp manager, that if you send some message, you are liable to damages or the rest, they tend to now police this information, and it affects expression.
Okay.
So the team, keeping power in check, means that stakeholders know their duties, know your obligations, and know your limits.
Okay. Uncle T, he said something just now that the mere fact that you post a video on any of the social media, you share a comment and all, that makes you a journalist. But I had the NUJ chairman earlier today, and he clearly defined what qualifies you to be a journalist. First, you must have the basic requirement, and then you must be registered. Do we need to make any of such distinctions?
No. I think that is rather it's an antediluvian definition of who is a journalist. In fact, today we should be placing more emphasis, like the barrister talks about, the citizen journalist. Because today all you have, it's a phone, an Android phone, and you can do so much. You transmit information, and it is prompt and quick.
Yeah.
So they are only extending our capacities as, call it the traditional media people. So we must recognize that. And it is now said that, I mean, if you are at an event and you can find it, like we talk about iReports, when you can find it to a station, you are just doing the job of a journalist, and you are faster with the news. Okay. So the only thing is, well, people worry about the safeguards. That unlike the traditional media, where there is so much of filtering, so much of gatekeeping, so much of agenda setting, that these things don't seem to happen.
No, it's a no holds barred.
Yes, a no holds barred.
Yeah.
Thing. Now, how do you control that? How do you make sure that people are not sending what, again, Trump has now made popular globally, talking about fake news? So there's a lot of fake news going around. It's like a couple of things you read even on your WhatsApp that IBB said. Sometimes you scratch your head, is that the kind of thing IBB could have said? It's nice when you hear it. Yeah. Or like the one they just even sent around that Obasanjo suddenly now said he didn't anymore say that that is now repudiating what he said against Buhari, that therefore now he's now praising the man. And of course, somebody has now said, look, the man didn't say a thing like that on a May Day. And Ayuba, who is the, I think the NLC man, says, look, we never called on Obasanjo, and we never made such a comment. So who's sending it? Well, people do all sorts of things, and this is where you begin to worry. But then, there are technical things by which you filter. Okay. Now. Just like you talk about, is it PayPal, which has been developed by Israelis, and of course, there's a way you can check payment, verify, and ensure that this payment is genuinely coming from such and such a source. And if it isn't, you can trace it. We are also thinking that there are technological improvements through apps that you can use to filter what is genuinely verifiable on social media. Okay. And so at that point, there are safeguards, apart from the other point that the barrister did talk about, the judiciary aspect. Yeah. Because of course, take the laws of libel, slander, defamation, they're all there. Yeah. They haven't gone there. That's why, I don't know whether I'm jumping the gun, but in Nigeria, somebody just woke up with a Sharia inspiration to talk about hate speech bill. Please, believe it or not, it's a Sharia-inspired thought to talk about hate speech bill that has a death penalty attached. I've done a study. You have hate speech laws in South Africa, in the UK, in France, Canada. Yes, they are meant for public order. Okay. They are meant for human dignity safeguards. Okay. They didn't ask for death penalty. So what is it that you want to murder everybody because I said something? And in Nigeria, given the level of thought processes, Nigerians no longer dialogue. We don't reason deeply. Everybody's a motive. And so consequently, it could emanate from anybody. Yeah. Take like that broadcast of when Buhari came back from his ill health. The very first broadcast. Please, I will qualify that as a hate speech. Now, am I going to hold his neck? to come and say that the president made a hate speech. No, but because he's high up, therefore he thinks it is me who is the one sending hate speeches. How are we going to defend ourselves?
Okay.
Maybe that's going back into that checking, putting power in check.
Yeah.
How are we going to prevent them from doing what they do? And the big man in Nigeria is very narcissistic. He just thinks so highly of himself, arrogant, so full of himself. And then they say anything. It is we they want to target. And then are you looking for an ethnic group that you want to target? Who are we? What's up? What's going on? So, yes, we know that a few things have gone wrong about the social media. Yeah. But then again, it's a new social technology. People have to realize it. It has intervened in our lives. We never had it before. And just like it is in the more developed world, where they're learning to cope with it, we ought to wake up and learn to cope with it. I'm giving an example. It's like when you talk about cryptocurrency. Yeah. Right. You know, in Nigeria, instead of us to sit down and examine this new
currency,
Bitcoin thing
yeah.
that people are dealing with, the first thing the Nigerian leadership would say, no, please. CBN says, no, don't bring any cryptocurrency thing inside Nigeria. Yeah. Meanwhile, those who are making money are making money. Those who are growing with it because they are studying the technology. Yeah. Instead of us to wake up and say, look at social media, look at the communication, look at the role of citizen journalists. How are they communicating? How can we use it for proper and better use? That is what you think the leadership should be thinking. Okay. Not thinking how to come and murder us in the name of one stupid law.
Okay. All right. Barrister President Agboha, arising from the theme, you look at issues that has to do with media and then transparency of the political process. How has media fared as we look at the World Press Freedom Day in a transparency of political processes?
Yes, the role of the media in transparency of political processes is quite laudable. You follow up the elections. The media has reported the election follow-up, the counts and all the rest. And believe me, even the courts, for you to get rule of law and justice, they rely on the evidence, the recording of the media. Yes, so the media have played their own role in democracy. All they are asking for is to be protected by this safe system that they have defended all their lives. So this theme of this year's World Press Freedom Day is now just taking it over the mainstream media to even online. Okay. That power belongs to the people. And social media giving power to everybody. Now, there's now a role for rule of law, due process. Okay. If you want to take this power away from the people in a democratic setting, there is a due process. Instagram, for instance, if you are sharing artistic videos, artwork, there is a policy there that anybody who objects to it can write to Instagram. Instagram will pull away the material okay. and even block you. Yeah. And advocates like us are saying that that policy is not a due process of intervention. The system should regulate itself. The person should be called upon. Are you the owner of this artwork? Then it makes its own response. It should be fair hearing. If there's no due process, there cannot be rule of law. Okay. So media, the media, this team of this year's World Press Freedom Day is saying that there should be a media, mainstream, online, there should be rule of law, there should be due process, and where this due process is challenged, the judiciary must hold its independence and be fair in educating on any issues that arises on media. So World Press Freedom Day is not just for mainstream journalists to look at the thing. Yeah. It cuts across bounds. It safeguards mainstream journalists in the defense of Nigerian democracy. It also safeguards online journalists in the defense of Nigerian democracy. And if you remember, online journalists are more and faster in posting results of election than even the mainstream. Oh, sure. You get results, you calculate it online before you even get it on the next day newspaper. Yeah. So it's very germane that they too are well considered by UNESCO in this year's World Press Freedom Day.
Okay, you said a while ago that keeping power in check is a harmful. I'm sure something crossed your mind in reviewing that theme. Particularly against the background of some of the issues that he raised. You probably want to share some thoughts along those lines.
Yes. Well, let's localize it in terms of our own history. And we'll find that one of those things that is in the Constitution, written into Section 22 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, and as amended, is that the media should hold power accountable. And that is quite an essential thing. But we tend to forget. And sometimes when we do media studies training, we emphasize this, that there's what we call the quadrangle of power. And in the quadrangle of power, instead of keeping to the old thematic understanding of the media being the fourth estate of the realm, because if you think in that way, it becomes hierarchical. Or executive on top, legislature, judiciary, then you come to media. No, it should be a quadrangle. In that four corner, on the top, you can have the executive. On the top right, you can have a legislature. Down below, you can have judiciary. And then within that power relationship, you have the media. Okay. And until you think of the media in that structure, you do not see us having power within the social relations. And when we do that, we are able to be the oversighter of the oversighters. The legislature said they are oversights, yes, but we in the media are also oversights. And that's why we talk about the media holding people in power accountable. And then our job is also to ensure, in terms of the cross-referencing, ideas coming from those who are governed to those who are the governors, we pass it on. And we also pass the views of those who are governing down to those who are below. And at that point, we are creating a better dynamics of interface and social interaction and social communication. And when we're doing that, we're also saying that and one of those things from the Enlightenment days of the 17th century has always seen the need for the media to warn those who are being led about those who want to intimidate them, create tyranny, and give them distortion and create problems in their lives. And in Nigeria, it becomes very, very crucial because sometimes we are in this confusion about democracy. We are not, and nobody should deceive himself in this country, that we are in a democracy. We are not. We do not practice democracy in any single form. Because if they give you what it takes to have a democratic society, we are nowhere near it. Even one of those things we even emphasizing in this year about rule of law. The big man in Nigeria thinks he's above the law. So now he thinks the media cannot even hold him accountable or report. Do you know that part of it, when it comes to impunity, in 2017, there was so much harassment and intimidation of the Nigerian media in 2017. Remember the last fellow, one guy who works in Independent, who was incarcerated. A lumber at the beginning of this year, held on, and what is it for? That you reported that money moved from government to Boko Haram. Okay, where did you get information? Oh, why are you worried? If your conscience is clear and you've done something in public interest, why don't you want to report it? It's like even this argument we have, is it $497 million that they use in paying for Tucano aircraft? What is secret about it? If you could spend public money, that is not your papa money, it's all of us, our money, why can't we ask you questions? Okay, people said, okay, the head of state was in London, he got treatment. He didn't use his money, he used everybody's money. Oh, he said, oh, it's security issue. What is security about it? You will know if they are spending £1 million on the British Queen. You will hear and you will know. Because they regard it as accountability. Yeah. But in Nigeria, there is no such thing as accountability. And until we begin to practice democracy, but which of course is so difficult in Africa. Yeah. And I will refer you to an article in March written by Ruben Abati. Africa, a continent without democrats. Yeah. Look anywhere. In fact, it is almost unheard of. And look where we are going, even in Nigeria. We are going into fascism. We're going into something else that we never even bargained for. So consequently, we ought to be on the alert. And the media ought to keep warning the people about keeping power in check so that they don't go away with blue murder. Okay.
Barrister, the Freedom of Information Bill was supposed to take care of all of this. Where are we in terms of its application?
Yes,
I heard you won a case not too long ago along that line. Tell us what your experience is.
The Freedom of Information Act 2011 came with mixed feelings. Some of us they were happy, but some persons also think that the law will not see the light of the day. As it stands now, write to any agency, none of them will reply you. You ask for any information. Those of us who write to ask for information, we already made our mind up that you will not get any response.
So it's like fulfilling all
righteousness.
Okay.
Yes, the implementation is a serious problem. So we in Freedom of Information Council have to dedicate, group of lawyers dedicate their time to not start assisting public agencies, assisting civil activists, individuals, to begin to take these public organizations to court. Because without that, there will be no headway. We have taken Dosaka to court, even to Court of Appeal. Sopadec, we are already in court now. So many other institutions in the state who are taking government money. NDDC took them to federal court in Port Harcourt, where we won it. And even today, they didn't give us the record, they went to Court of Appeal. We won a Dosaka, they didn't give us the record, they went to Court of Appeal. You know, even coincidentally in Court of Appeal, in their own judgment, said the Freedom of Information Act is not applicable to states.
Oh, it's only at federal.
So that brings to a very serious issue, that all the revenue that National Assembly appropriate for themselves, they use it to pass law only for FCT. And that's the implication of the judgment. Though we are taking that judgment to Supreme Court because it's very ridiculous. But good enough, the Court of Appeal, Division of Court of Appeal, in Akure, a day after, a similar issue arose there. They had in favor of our argument that Freedom of Information Act is applicable to states. So there are conflicting judgments within 2 days at that period level. That means that even the judiciary needs some attention. We need as an activist, and we need to also give them some time. They also not believe that they know all. Yeah. They also need to know the new issues that are coming up. Internet laws, there are so many issues that are arising. Media laws, so many issues are arising. So they need to also be educated on all these things. So we're having a very serious challenge in implementing this law. National Assembly will make a law, state will say it's not applicable to them. State will not even pass the law. They will put the law that it's not applicable to us. And they'll be sharing money and be moving vote of confidence on the president. The state has never moved the confidence on the president at the federal level because they are idle. You know, they are not working on these laws that they are saying is not applicable to them. So we are taking these things to court to actually conscientize the court, for the court to actually give judgment in our favor. So that is what the Freedom of Information Council is dedicated in doing the past 5 years.
Okay. But you know, it's particularly strange, Sonny, that it's not the first time that I've read where judgments have been passed, and the judgment was that any law passed, even at the federal level, has a universal application. Yes. That is, it covers the state, covers the local government. But I think there is this, again, back to attitude. What is the attitude and our understanding of democratic practices? So we are up against that. And then there is the cultural factors that are preventing the application of the FOI, the Freedom of Information Act, which is that, you see, we have always had cults and had secret gangs in our different cultural settings. We transferred all that native ways of social behavior into modern setting. And consequently, you know, in Africa, there's always the group, the Egbes, that are holding power, holding this. And that's why you will find United States, he went to Sopadec, went to NDDC, went to this, and they believe that, who are you to dare ask a question? We are government, and therefore we are not accountable to you. We should not even tell you what we are doing. In fact, you should be happy that we even managed to tell you part of the story. But then, until we deal with who we are, it is a cultural thing. Yeah. That is when it becomes, we are sure that whenever the FOI that has been passed as a law, you can write a letter. And by law, you should even get information. And it's again out of courtesy. You know, over the years, even simple courtesy, I call it just simple courtesy. Somebody should even acknowledge that we're asking such and such a question. Is it vital? Is it helpful to you? Are you just being a nosy parker, or is it something that society ought to know? I think people ought it's public money, and therefore there should be a sense of being accountable to the people themselves. Would you like it if you're on the other side, you're not in government, and you wanted an information about what is going on, and nobody tells you? I mean, why should government be run as a cult? Should government not be open? So it is part of our culture to be secretive. And until we can come out of that, and I don't know when.
What role can the media play to break this jinx of lack of accountability on the part of state institutions to the public?
Readily, to my mind, and as I've tried to study and examine it, the social media becomes the answer.
So it brings us back to where we started from.
Yes, okay. It is the social media, because what can happen is that there's anonymity. I can throw the fact, I can take a picture, I can get documents, if I can get access, and throw it at the social media, and it goes viral, goes global. What are you going to do? Nothing. Are you going to deny it? Can't you remember that there was a press conference that Lai Mohammed gave in Lagos over the, you know, there was this soldier who said something happened to him in the war front, and that they are not being paid this and this and this. Yes, everybody read it online. Yeah. Did Lai Mohammed not address it in his press, in the course of that press conference? Which means it gets to them. Yeah. So don't think that they don't understand. So the only way you can embarrass this government that likes to do cult governance, rather than...
But is it really to embarrass them or to bring the facts to the public to the public domain?
No, I'm not saying anything wrong. You know the reason? It is name and shame that makes a Nigerian behave. No, truly. It's like when labor people want to agitate in Nigeria. You know, if you just go write a letter to Governor, please, Your Excellency, do this for me, they will throw the letter inside waste paper basket. But when you agitate, create problem, the governor will now come out. That is the Nigerian behavior. See, until you understand your social psychology, you can't cope with these things. So when you now go to the social media, throw the facts out, then he now knows that he can't hide. He will now come out and own up. So we must use the social media judiciously and effectively to create an environment of rule of law and accountability in the system.
Okay. Just in addition to that, sir, I think the media itself needs to be accountable, public and private. Okay. And one of the frontier of social accountability is to accommodate the social media. There is this discrepancy. You are not a journalist, you are selling fake news, and you must accommodate them. Okay. It's a channel that has been embraced world over. Yeah. And as I talk to you today, over 276 journalists are detained, and out of the 276, 193 are from the freelancers. So the freelance journalists, yes, they have been detained world over in 2017 alone. Okay. And out of the 8% are female. So it's very germane that we accommodate them, because when they break the ranks, do you get the point? They can actually, the freedom of information, access to public record, freedom of expression, digital rights cannot stand. So the media in itself must be strong. In other words, want to be accountable, build a strong media, accommodate all frontiers, be pluralistic, and get results.
Okay, there have been certain utterances in recent times in Nigeria that tends to give the impression of the state wanting to gag the media. What do you make of this? And again, we heard of things like the hate speech, which of course you talked about extensively. We've also read instances where there are talks along the line of the security agencies monitoring what is happening on social media and stuff like that. I'd like to get your thoughts along those lines.
It's maybe it's our history. Because if you go back, maybe pre-independence was about the only time the media enjoyed anything that looked like freedom of the press. And for press freedom, anyhow you want to contextualize it and place it.
There's press and there is freedom in it. Just quiet.
That's the Jonas Swallow. Oh, yes. You know, to be honest, you see, because of our too many long years of military dominated our political life, it has over-militarized the system. And so whenever the military is in charge, all they think is their own survival, and they need to gag information and to make sure. Look at even one of the most odious, when you think back of the decree 1976 and a couple of years like that, you find that they will talk about public officer protection decree. What on earth does that mean? Do you know that that's where we are now? And those have been the origin of impunity in this country, and that has seeped into our politics. After all, there are a few things you would have thought that we're in a democracy, and therefore there are a few things you could do, but you dare not say something to the House. They will now say they summon you. You will now appear before them. They will now look for police to come and arrest you and send you to jail. Then the governor himself, if he did anything, who are you to even dare speak to the governor? But they tend to forget when they were campaigning, they were all over the whole place, so shaking your hand and eating food with you. But as soon as they get to power, they think that they are some other people else. And so you now find that there is this historical tendency that has come from the military. And because I'm in a public forum here, there are a few things I just don't want to say. But we must look at even our own national cultural history that are seeped in. Because there is an ethnic group that is dominating the behavior and public tendencies. And because of that, the attitude is feudalistic. And so everybody's a minion. You're a serf, you're a slave, you're a servant. Who are you? So consequently, if you want to dare raise your head, they will stamp on you. So consequently, you'll find that the kind of laws they make, the kind of behavior and relationship they have with us, is that they want to use everything to repress us. And why? Last year, there was this monitoring of social media, checking what you are saying, checking calls. Okay, to what purpose? When they do it in the Western world, it was in the light of ISIS, in the light of not Boko Haram, some of these Al-Shabaab and all of that.
Al-Qaeda and the likes.
Al-Qaeda. So you needed it to protect everybody. It's not just to protect the head of state or protect the government, but to protect the people. That's why America does a lot of homeland security and monitoring. And they are eavesdropping, yes, to pick and get a few things. Then you want to ask yourself, this data gathering in Nigeria, what do they want to do with it? Is it to protect Nigerians or protect themselves? So we are still in a military regime, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, we're in civilian regime. I mean, that's an established fact because there was an election.
Is it because of what? Those semblances?
That's established. That's established. It's the TMI Thursday, World Press Freedom Day 2018. Keeping power in check, media, justice, and the rule of law. My guests have been Tony Abolo, veteran media practitioner, administrator, media consultant, and of course the executive director of Freedom of Information Council. I'd like to thank very especially Barrister President Ike Bohan. Now, just before we wrap it up, the media, specifically the new media, has been very instrumental to information sharing, information gathering. In fact, even for the traditional media now, rely so much on the new media to get information. The only thing the traditional media does is to use the established channels to cross-check, bring their professionalism on board, and be sure that whatever they are broadcasting or transmitting is authentic. You don't get to see that done in the traditional, the new media, which is a very, very big challenge. But the point I want to raise is, going forward, 2019 is an election year. But one thing is certain, all that will be done in 2019 will be decided in 2018. So how do you assess the role of the media so far and its impact on the 2019 election? Let me start with you, Barrister Iboha.
Yeah, the media, particularly the new media, will have very substantial effect in 2019 election, particularly broadcasting news. I don't want to call it fake news. But generally, we are already aware that the president is trying to push for hate speech bill, which in its nature, I've read it, is criminal sanction for defamation. That's very strange. Like senior year have highlighted, criminal defamation for hate speech is not known in any part of the world. So we as journalists, as activists, must press on that bill to limit defamation to civil action. We are not saying that you cannot, if somebody says anything wrong about you, you have the due processes there. The team is saying rule of law.
The law courts are already there.
The challenge of expression of you wrongly, but not criminal sanction. It is a purely civil defamation. The new, because that seriously affects the new media. The only conviction or the only case of journalist repression in Nigeria now is against an online blogger, a Lumba, which obviously means that 2018-2019 there will be more bloggers that will be detained. Of course, that attention is gradually shifting to online media now, particularly those who are practicing in that space to be protected. And this team was fashioned out for them. And we expect that the mainstream media like you and all others who are also on the...
What are advocates like you doing to project this challenge in the practice of citizen journalism?
Yes.
Because you recalled a while ago that you said that certain information you broadcast or you publish on Instagram, for example, and someone challenges it, either they remove it or they block you, and you see that as an infringement on the right of the person. And then I'm sure the same goes with Facebook and maybe Twitter. So advocates like you, what are you doing about that?
We have opened up, Freedom of Information Council have opened up the free pro bono legal services for such victims.
Okay.
Because if you are in Nigeria and you post a very good, we have good artists from Edo State, and somebody in London sees the mask and say, no, this is something I have sent to a library in London. Because he's a white man, he writes to Instagram. The white man also in Instagram will not want to verify whether you are really the original artist that did the work, and he blocks. So in such cases, we are under the pro bono. We will sue Instagram, the person who has reported it, because that's a breach of your right of expression. You have the right to express your work. You have the right to share it on any platform without any restriction. We have such platform for social media bloggers to protect them and defend their right offline.
Yeah, you know,
what, 2019 social media?
I know, I mean, yeah, I have my fears. And my fears.
I hope you're not like prophet of doom or something.
No, I don't know about prophet of doom. You know, because the traditional media tend to over-censor themselves. The only way Nigerians now seem to share their frustration, sense of distress, lack of control of the political process is to go on social media through whatever way they can do it, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. And those in authority know that if that happens, then it means that the opportunity for the people to self-express is very, very limited. And they want to limit the impact of what we can do. Look at another thing that has happened. That transmission of the last bill that the Senate sent to the president, which he refused assent, which had to do with the ordering of the dates and schedule of election. Along with it went a proposal that had to do with transmission of results, which had to do with electronic transmission. Now, if the president has refused his assent, it now means that even if you use your Android phone to tap from your polling booth to anything, it is a null and void information. It will never matter. So it just means that you're on your own sending your result, and it will be regarded as fake result. It is anything that INEC gives us that will do the result. So we are going to be in a serious crisis. And because of that, don't be surprised if people react violently over the result that we may get in February next year.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time with us on the program, TMI. Vice President, thanks a lot for coming. It's always a delight to have you here.
Thank you very much.
It's the TMI Plus today, and sure, you learned one or two things from the conversation on the 2018 World Press Freedom Day. Keeping power in check, media, justice, and the rule of law.